What's up, everybody? This is your man DeSean BBN, and welcome to another edition of my podcast. Now, I got a few topics at hand to discuss today. Now, none of them are about Kentucky, unfortunately. So, if you're hoping to get something about Kentucky, you might want to stay tuned to one of my future podcasts because today we ain't gonna talk about that. Now, there's a few topics I want to discuss that have really been floating around in social media. The first of which I want to talk about is Jay-Z. Now, if you haven't heard already, Jay-Z has decided to partner up with the NFL. For what reason? I have no idea. Now, there are people have mixed feelings about it. Some people think it's a good thing, some people think it's a bad thing. I mean, I've seen some people saying that Jay-Z is a sellout. Now, I don't know. I mean, you can say that if you want to, but we don't know why he's doing this. I mean, yeah, if he's only doing this to put more money in his pockets and to make another power move, then yeah, Jay Z is a sellout. But we don't know that. We don't know what his motive is. Now, I will say this. Now, when people were asking Jay Z about why he's doing that. He said something about how we're past kneeling. Now we got to take more action. Which, I mean, I agree. We do have to take more action, but so what is he planning? Like, what do you plan to do now that you're partnered up with the NFL? From what I've heard, Jay Z is looking to become a part owner of an NFL team. Now, I mean, if that's true, then great. But what else do you plan on doing other than being a part owner of an NFL team? Again, he's not a sellout. At least I wouldn't say that yet. I'm just gonna wait and see to see how this whole thing plays out, and then maybe hell, maybe he is a sellout. I don't know, but I I just don't know. I mean, Jay Z, yeah, he said something about Colin Kaepernick too. Like he wasn't doing this to get Colin Kaepernick's job back or whatever. Which I mean, I get it. Colin Kaepernick now, me personally, I would love to see him back in the NFL, but does he want to come back to the NFL? I mean, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Now, Colin Kaepernick, yeah, he sued the NFL for collusion, for in essence being blackballed, and the NFL decided to settle out of court. Now, usually when people settle out of court, I mean, they settle because they know they were wrong, or they just don't want to deal with the headache. We don't know why they chose to settle, whatever, but yeah, Colin Kaepernick is effectively done, unfortunately. Now, there are people saying that Jay Z played a part in getting Colin Kaepernick blackballed, but I don't think that's true. I mean, Colin Kaepernick hasn't played since 2016. I mean, Jay Z, from then when it happened up until now, he's been speaking out against the NFL. Hell, he urged other black artists not to perform at the Super Bowl. Travis Scott still did it anyway, but Rihanna declined, Cardi B declined. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say Jay Z got played a part in Colin Kaepernick being blackballed. No, I don't think he did at all. Now, just before I switch gears, I just want to say, wait and see. Wait to see what Jay Z plans to do before you jump to conclusions and call him a sellout. Now, the next talking point I wanted to discuss is James Harden versus Michael Jordan. Now, if you haven't heard, the Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey, he made a statement saying it's factual that James Harden was a better scorer than Michael Jordan. Now, when I heard that, I'm just like, Harden is a better scorer than Michael Jordan, and it's factual. No, it's not. Look, I understand Daryl Morey. He's the general manager of the Rockets. He's gonna have his players back, but Michael Jordan, in my opinion, is the best scorer in NBA history. I mean, if he's not the best scorer, he's top three. James Harden, he's arguably the best scorer today, but a better scorer than Michael Jordan? I don't know about that. Michael Jordan was unreal. I mean, he won 10 scoring titles. He averaged 37 points per game in a season. He scored 61 as a career high, 63 as a career high in the playoffs. Michael Jordan, No disrespect to Harden, but Michael Jordan is a better scorer than Harden, as well as a better player. But that's beyond the point. James Harden, yeah, he's great. I mean, you could say what you could say whatever the hell you want about Harden. I've heard it all. Oh, he's a flopper. He don't play defense. James Harden's overrated. Blah 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 blah. James Harden is a great player, whether you want to admit it or not. I mean, I will. I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan. I mean, I'm not supposed to say good things about the Houston Rockets, but James Harden is one hell of a player. I mean, my personal opinion, he's the best shooting guard in the NBA right now that's playing. I mean, James Harden, had a great 2018 season. He averaged 36 points per game. I think he averaged about 8 assists and 7 rebounds as well. I mean, he's a baller. I mean, yeah, he does flop. He doesn't always play. He rarely plays defense. But Harden's a great player. But to say he's better than Michael Jordan, no. I mean, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even say that. I mean, it's definitely not factual. I mean, personally, I think the best scorer in the NBA right now is Kevin Durant. I mean, he's arguably one of the top three scorers of all time as well. Now, Harden, I mean, you could put him in the top 10, but I wouldn't put him in the top five in terms of greatest scores ever. Like, I mean, how is it factual that Harden is better than Jordan scoring wise? Like, I don't see it. But if you look at their statistics, I mean, Jordan's better. Now, of course, stats don't tell the whole story, but Jordan's a better scorer than James Harden. I mean, he averages 30 points per game for his career. Harden, I think, is at 24, which is still good, but it's not more than 30. Now, the big reason why I wouldn't say James Harden is a better scorer than Jordan is because of his efficiency. Like James Harden, yeah, he averaged 36 points per game last year, but his field goal percentage was only like 43%. I mean, 43% shooting from the field is, I mean, it's okay, but it's not. It's okay, but it ain't. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just okay. That's the big problem with James Harden. Yeah, he'll get you 30, 40 points, but he might only shoot 43% from the field. I mean, he can be an efficient scorer, but he's not always efficient. See, Jordan was efficient. Michael Jordan's field goal percentage for his career is 50%. That's that's freaking good. I mean, if Michael Jordan shoots the ball 20 times, I mean, you can guarantee that he'll make 10 of them. 50% from the field is great, man. Like, how you got efficiency matters. Well, yeah, it matters. Now, of course, I mean, efficiency isn't everything, but it definitely matters. I mean, because, like, the reason why I say it ain't everything, because, players who play close to the basket, like centers, yeah, they're by default, they're going to have a good field goal percentage of 50% or higher because they play close to the basket. But Michael Jordan was a perimeter player. He did all his scoring from the mid range, occasionally from the three, and sometimes in the post. For him to shoot 50% from the field for his career, that's just great, man. I mean, no disrespect to James Harden, but he's just not on Jordan's level as a scorer. But I will say this. I mean, if there was one thing that James Harden does do better than Jordan, it's this. And no, it's not flopping. Yeah, yes, James Harden does flop, but that's not where I was going. The one thing that James Harden does do better than Michael Jordan is shoot the three ball. James Harden, for his career, is a 37% three-point shooter, which, I mean, 37% is great. If you can shoot 40% or better, that's even greater. Now, as far as I know, I don't believe Harden has ever shot 40% from the three-point line, but 37% for your career from the three-point line, that's great. Now, Michael Jordan, on the other hand, his three-point shooting percentage was 33%. Now, of course, I'm rounding up. I mean, his actual three-point shooting percentage for his career was 32.7%, which, I mean, 33% is okay. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just okay. But in Michael Jordan's defense, the three-point shot wasn't an integral part of the NBA back then like it is now. But still, 37 is better than 33. Now, I was looking at some of Jordan's numbers, and yeah, early on in his career, he was terrible from the three-point line. I think he shot 13% from the three-point line, and in his second, maybe third year. I'm like, damn, Mike, you was that bad at shooting threes? Shoot. 13% though? Wow. It's crazy. But yeah, long story short, yes, Jordan is a better scorer than James Harden. Now, James Harden, yes, I would say is top 10 though at least. Now, I mean, Jordan's the best scorer of all time, but in no particular order. I mean, after Jordan, you got Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, Kobe, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, LeBron James, then maybe Harden at 8, and then I don't know, 9, 10. Shoot, I don't know. Hell, maybe. I mean, just throw in whoever star player you can think of. But yes, Michael Jordan is the best scorer of all time. James Harden, while he is a great scorer, is not better than Michael Jordan. Sorry, Daryl. Now, moving on to my last topic, wrestling. Yeah. Now, I mean, I've heard it all before. Oh, wrestling's fake, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's scripted. I mean, I'm not really. I used to watch wrestling religiously when I was a child, but I don't really watch it anymore. Every now and then I might peep it, but I just don't get to watch it as much as I used to. So one of my friends on Facebook shared a top 50 list of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Let me grab that real quick. And on this list, the number one wrestler of all time they had was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now I'm not gonna name everybody that was on this top 50 list, but Stone Cold was number one, Macho Man Randy Savage number two, Ric Flair number three, Hulk Hogan came in at four, The Rock 5, John Cena came in at 6, Shawn Michaels at 7, Undertaker came in at 8, Bret Hart 9, and number 10 was Chris Jericho. It's a pretty impressive top 10. Now, some other notable wrestlers who made this top 50 list, you got Kurt Angle at 11, Triple H at 12, Booker T came in at 15, at Randy Orton at 25, Edge 26, CM Punk at 27, Daniel Bryan 35, AJ Styles 36, and number 50 was Vader. I mean, the list itself is impressive. I just don't know if I agree with the order. Now, if you want to see this list, I mean, you can go to my personal Facebook page and I'll post it so you can see. But anyways, from first glance, I could tell that this list was made mostly based on popularity. Because Stone Cold Steve Austin was, I mean, he's probably the most popular wrestler in the history of professional wrestling. Now, when I first started watching wrestling, I think it was in 1997. My first taste of wrestling was WrestleMania 14. Stone Cold beat Shawn Michaels in the main event to win his first ever WWE championship. I think he went on to become a six-time WWE champion throughout his career, and he established himself as a legend, an icon in this business. But I don't know if I would say Stone Cold is the number one wrestler of all time. Excuse me. Stone Cold, looking at this list, I can tell that it was made mostly based off of popularity and not based on actual wrestling ability. Now, don't get me wrong, Stone Cold is a good wrestler, but as far as the best in-ring performer of all time, no, he's not. I mean, maybe top 10, top 20, but the best in-ring performer ever? Nah, I wouldn't say that. Now, if this list was actually made based on in-ring ability, number one would have been Kurt Angle or Bret Hart. I mean, those are two of the best technical wrestlers ever. I mean, you could put them in the ring with a crash test dummy and they'll put on a 5-star match. That's how great they were in the wrestling ring. I mean, Stone Cold was a good wrestler too, but not quite on the same level as Kurt Angle or Bret Hart or AJ Styles, who, oh yeah, was ranked number 36 on the list. Stone Cold Steve Austin, yeah, he's one of my personal favorite wrestlers of all time, but number one, I wouldn't put him there. Now, if you're curious, my favorite wrestler of all time is Sting. Now, yeah, I liked Stone Cold. I liked The Rock. I like guys who were great talkers, guys who were funny, guys who were badasses. But I also like the mysterious, the scary, the creepy guys like Sting, like Kane, like Undertaker. Now, Sting wasn't really creepy per se, but very mysterious. At the time when I started watching wrestling, I didn't know Sting's gimmick was based off of the character from the movie The Crow. But yeah, Sting was the man. He was a badass. Like you could put him in the ring with anybody, and you wouldn't be, and you're gonna get a good match. Like Sting was just great. Like all the years I watched Sting, I don't think there was ever a point in his career where I'm just like, man, this was not a good match. Sting always shined, no matter what. Win, lose, draw. Sting put on a 5-star match every time he's in the ring. That's plus, I mean, his ring attire was awesome too. He had that black singlet with the white scorpions on it, and then when he joined the NWO Wolfpack, he had the red face paint instead of the white. Man, Sting was. I love Sting. He's my number one favorite. Now, me personally, Sting, although he's my favorite, I'd put him. He'd be in my top 5 for greatest wrestlers of all time. My personal opinion, the greatest wrestler of all time is Shawn Michaels. Yep, that's right. Shawn Michaels, HBK, the showstopper, the icon, Mr. WrestleMania, whatever you want to call him, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels is the greatest wrestler of all time. I mean, he was like a wrestling. Like there was nothing he couldn't do. He was great in the ring, great on the mic. I mean, he was very marketable. I mean, he was one of the founding fathers of D Generation X. Shawn Michaels is the greatest wrestler of all time. Oh, I also forgot I mentioned he was the first ever Grand Slam champion. Shawn Michaels, yeah, another one of my personal favorites. He's the greatest wrestler of all time, bar none, in my opinion. After Shawn Michaels, I don't know. I'd probably say Macho Man at 2, Bret Hart 3. I don't know. I would have to really sit and think about this for a long time before I would make a definite top 50 list. Now, I just want to throw it out there. I mean, Hulk Hogan, as he was a great wrestler. I mean, he was a great personality, but as far as him being a wrestler goes, I think Hulk was somewhat overrated. Now, I give Hulk Hogan credit for making wrestling mainstream. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, wrestling would not be what it is today. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, there'd be no NWO. But as far as his wrestling talent goes, Hulk wasn't that great. Just my opinion. I mean, although I didn't start watching wrestling until like 96, 97, I always thought Macho Man was a better wrestler than the Hulk. Even looking back at some of their old matches on YouTube, I mean, I still believe the same. Macho Man was a better wrestler than Hulk Hogan. Anyways, yeah, that top 50 list, I mean, like I said, a lot of big names. There were some names that were left out. Like, Diamond Dallas Page was not on the list. Like, how you gonna have a top 50 list without DDP? There was another really good wrestler on that list that was not included on the list. I didn't forget his name, but I know DDP was the big one. I mean, when I looked at that list, I'm just like, where's DDP? Oh, another name that was missing, Rob Van Dam. I'm like, how you gonna have a top 50 list and not include Rob Van Dam? Like, Rob Van Dam was the greatest wrestler in ECW history. I mean, he put on a show every time he got in the ring. He's one of the best high flyers that the sport has ever seen. Like, Rob Van Dam should have been in that top 50 somewhere. I mean, I'm not saying he should have been top 10, but he should have been in that top 50 list regardless. Chris Benoit made the list, which kind of surprised me. I mean, yes, his talent was impeccable. Like, Chris Benoit was one hell of a wrestler. Like, in terms of his in-ring ability, yeah, Chris Benoit is without question one of the top 10, top 5, maybe top 3 greatest wrestlers of all time. But yeah, his legacy will forever be tarnished because he committed suicide and killed his family. But yeah, anyways, I think another list. I mean, a list I would like to see. I'd like to see them do like a top 50 list for the greatest tag teams of all time, or even the greatest groups of all time. Now, in my personal opinion, the greatest tag team ever was the Hardy Boys. Now, the Hardy Boys, along with Edge and Christian and the Dudleys, they helped revolutionize tag team wrestling. They made tag team wrestling exciting. It was those three teams that created the TLC match. I mean, every time there's a TLC match, it's 9 times out of 10, it's a classic. That first TLC match between Edge and Christian, the Hardys, and the Dudleys, it's a classic. But yeah, I think the Hardys were the greatest tag team of all time. They were high flyers. They utilized the ladders. I mean, they put on a great match every time they were in the ring. They both had cool finishers. Jeff with the Swanton Bomb. Matt and Jeff both used the Twist of Fate. I mean, they were fun to watch, and for that to me is why they're the best of all time. Now, you could make a case for the Dudley Boys. You can make a case for the Road Warriors, aka the Legion of Doom. You can make a case for a lot of teams, but for me, the number one greatest tag team of all time is the Hardy Boys. Now, as far as wrestling groups goes, I think the best group of all time is a toss up between the Four Horsemen and NWO. Now, the Four Horsemen was like the first big time wrestling stable. If it wasn't for the Four Horsemen, there wouldn't be an NWO. There wouldn't be a D Generation X, a Heart Foundation, the Corporation, Ministry of Darkness, and all the other various wrestling factions that came and went over the years. But being the first doesn't make you the best, though. But they definitely are in the conversation for the best stable of all time. Now, I would give it to NWO simply because the NWO pushed WCW ahead of WWE in the Monday Night Wars. I mean, the NWO was must-see TV every night. Like, I'd be sitting in front of my TV flipping back and forth between USA and TNT so I could catch both WCW and WWE. But yeah, the NWO, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. WCW overdid it. They overused NWO. It got stale and boring, and it was part of the reason why WCW eventually floundered out and had to sell to WWE. Yeah, NWO, greatest of all time. Four Horsemen, then I'd probably go Heart Foundation, DX, and for that fifth group, I don't know, maybe the Corporation. All right, y'all. It's your man DeSean BBN. I hope you enjoyed my podcast. Be on the lookout for my future podcasts. I'm out.